folks, Captain Paul here, and today we're going to talk about who can you trust. And that's a big topic, and it's a big subject because, after you've bought the boat or during you're buying the boat, whether you're surveying the boat or whatever you're doing to the boat, who do you trust? And that's this week's video. Next week's video, I want to get into, I do this one video every single year. It's about that time, tax time. I got to do my taxes. I figure out how much money I make from this channel and stuff like that. And I want to share it with you. So next week's video is about what you can do with a small channel like mine. Mine's a very small niche channel. So next week we'll talk about that in next week's video. This week's video is who can I trust when I'm out here buying a boat? And I have my Bitcoin shirt on today, so you guys can see. And then I wanted to share this with you too. This is a legal tender note here. It is a $20 bill of the United States of America. And right here, I'm looking at the back of this, and it says, "In God we trust." So is that who we trust? Do you know what I'm saying? Because as I get further and further along with everything, with my education of Bitcoin, with my education of the US dollar, with my education with God, who do I trust? Because right here on this legal tender right here, it says, "In God we trust." So maybe that's the only person I do trust. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because out here in the world of, and myself, because in the world of boating, like right now, today, it's Monday morning. I was supposed to have a mechanic out on the boat Sunday. No show, no call, no nothing. I did get one text saying, "Hey, I hurt my finger. I've got to go to the drugstore, and then I'll be to the boat after that." But no call, no show after that. And then this morning, I can't get an answer. I can't get no text, no communication, and nothing from them. And so, do I trust this guy now? Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's very frustrating. And I've done some of these surveys even on some of these boats. And I always preach to you guys that that you want a surveyor that's NAMS and SAM certified, and at least that gives you there's some structure to that they had to pass some type of a test, they had to pass some type of a format. But I ran into this situation once where a guy puts that he's NAMS or SAM certified, but he's really not, and so that gets frustrating too. Like, do I trust this person? And in the end, I think that you really, you got to really dig deep, especially you guys that are just now, because this market right now is, it's very frustrating. The boats that you think you're going to get this boat for X amount of dollars, but you're not. It's going to be more money. Everything's going to be more than you think. Trust me on that. that I can guarantee you. And you've got to trust yourself is who you really got to trust, because what's your work background and what did you do? Did you ever project manage anything? Because obviously a lot of us have owned homes, and we had to manage that. So who do we trust when we call for repairs on the house? And it's the same thing on the boat. Do you call that guy? Because I'm just looking back at what happened with me, because when I was delivering boats, I did it at a reduced price. But when somebody called and asked me, A, can you go deliver this boat? And B, are you going to be there? What's the trust factor? They could just go online and see me on Facebook. I done America's Great Loop, so I had the hours. I've done several, I've probably done 25, 30 deliveries. I've been all the way up the East Coast, and that's all documented on YouTube and Facebook. So when a guy's looking at my credentials, he can come back and say, "Hey, can I trust this guy? He's at a discounted rate because he doesn't have the experience yet." And this was when I was getting my captain's license. I needed these hours. And I had to gain the trust of the people. And so but I also, when I say that, I had to put my own money up. I had to put up, about $150,000 of my Bitcoin, basically, and I had to put that up to do America's Great Loop. So I got the time, and then I had to buy the boat and then do the time. I had to go do the loop, and that cost me about $150,000. So that's how I got the experience to be able to deliver your boat. So what is the guy behind me, what's his experience and what does he do and how do you trust him? Because sometimes we have to take chances. And when I say that is, hiring a younger guy, that's what we've kind of done now on the Ranger. His hourly rate's a little bit lower and he will be less experienced, but he's a good mechanic. But will he get the job done as fast? I don't know. This is all factors but I can tell you that his communication skills aren't much better than the other mechanic that we were dealing with before. They're a little bit better, but not much better. And I think it's a generational thing. I think, as we're young, nobody wants to hear, any of your contractors or anybody or your mechanics or the people working on your boat or your survey, anybody. Nobody wants to call you with negativity or I'm not going to make it, or they just don't want to call you with it. So they don't communicate, and then that gets frustrating. And then do you want to deal with something like that? That's something you're going to have to determine, and whether you trust that person or you don't trust that person. I've learned that you really, like the brokers. You know how you can tell if a broker's lying to you? His lips are moving. But then I've also had brokers that are just amazing, amazing people, like Seth down there in the Panhandle down there in Panama City. Probably one of the greatest brokers, but he's just going to tell you like it is. I mean, and there's not that many of them. I've probably met a handful of them. My guy down in over there in Alabama, they're very, very few and far between. But there are good brokers out there, and there are some that you can trust. And the best thing to do is check references. Look back. Take 4 phone calls from. And I don't believe, just this is for the record, I don't believe in a buyer's broker. I believe that you need to be flexible and you deal with the broker that the boat is with. You don't bring another broker into the deal just because you lose a lot of deals that way. And the reason is because this broker will say there's no co-broker on this boat right here. So then that takes off about 1/3 of the boats that you're eligible to even buy, because a lot of them. And then what I'm finding too is all the good stuff. When a broker has a boat and he knows he doesn't have to co-broker, he knows it's just going to sell, he'll just say, no, I'm not going to co-broker it. So about 80% of the time, the junk is what gets co-brokered because they can't sell it, but maybe another broker can sell it. So they have to co-broker it. You can look at it like that. But I don't believe in that. I believe in, if you got the listing on the boat, deal with him, and it seems to work better that way, and you got a better shot of getting a better deal on the boat, because nobody by the time they split the commissions up so many ways. I was talking to a guy, it was yesterday or 2 days ago, about this. He's going, well, how does this guy get paid? I go, well, so if you got a $20,000 commission, by the time I get paid, it's about $5,000, because the broker takes half of it, and then the other broker gets half of that. So out of the $20,000, the brokerages split $10,000, and the brokers split the other $10,000. So there's 2 brokers, so that's $5,000 each. And if there's 2 brokerages, that's $5,000 each for them. So you can see how it can, and that's a $200,000 boat. You can see how that the commissions drop really, really fast when you're dealing with that. So I just don't believe in it. I believe just go straight to the broker, let him make his money, and he's the one that brought the boat to the market. So you have to trust that he knows something about the boat. And that's another thing too. When a broker knows something about a boat, because I get asked this question all the time, he's supposed to share that with you. That is in writing. That there's a code of ethics that he should share that information for you. So if you ask him, hey, how many times has this boat been surveyed? And he should share that information with you. If you know a boat's been surveyed 3 times, it's huge red flag. So you're telling me somebody surveyed this boat 3 times and it still doesn't have a buyer? I mean, that should tell you right there. I mean, that there's a story to that. And you know, it'll reflect on the price. So I mean, some of these boats are overpriced. So you know, when you're I'm just going to use the example of the Tollycraft 44. You know, it went through 5 surveys. It finally did sell for $140,000. So there are still people out here that you know, uneducated people out here buying boats that you know, don't know that, you know, don't buy you know, a Tollycraft, a 44 Tollycraft with 3208 cats in it with 5,500 hours that can't even make it to the survey. You know what I'm saying? There's the people, they're still out there, because this boat did finally close, and I believe that would have been the 6th survey on that boat. So what do you think is going to happen when that guy goes to sell the boat? I mean, he's going to run into the same situation, but somebody's going to lose at the end. And so trust me on that one. Trust me big time on that one. Anyway, you know, trust is it's a very hard thing. I mean, some of you guys, you know, like I had a 30-year marriage with Beverly, and do I trust her? Yes, even today I trust her. But I've known her for 30 years. So, you know, if you guys have a broker or a family friend or something like that, or, you know, a family friend that's a mechanic or somebody that works on the boat, you know, you can just check your references, check everything, you know what I'm saying? And then you can get a pretty good idea of it. And you guys that are going to buy these boats, especially these 40-year-old trawlers, they all need so much work. I don't care, you know, I really, really don't care. I don't care if it's Southern Estate. I could sit here today. I could spend $100,000 on Southern Estate today in probably about 30 minutes. And because it just never ends. There's always stuff that I want to do. Like I could paint the hull. I could paint the superstructure. I could add electronics package. We just got a quote yesterday for electronics package on and this is just 2 stations, a lower and an upper helm installed, radar, everything, you know, autopilot and everything. It was $28,000, so about $30,000. Southern Estate, I could use that package on Southern Estate today. I could paint the hull. You know, it's just, the list never ends. It'll never end on any boat, especially these 40-year-old boats, because they really need they need to be you know, like these older or these boats that are like called world cruisers. They go through these Lloyd's of London inspections, and you know, they got to be brought up to snuff. So they got to come out of the water every 6 months, 8 months to own one of these boats. Sorry, it's every year. They got to come out of the water, and I could be wrong on it. Somebody help me in the comments on that. But there is a criteria where they've got to be pulled out of the water, and everything has to be gone through. And these inspections cost about $100,000 to run one of these boats through one of these inspections to get that kind of rating. And you know, and that's I was talking to Steve on the $1 Million Bayliner. This was last week, and you know, we're like, we are such small people in a big man's world, because he's managing the $1 Million Bayliner, and you know, right now they're trying to get the generator running on it. And I asked him a question the other day, because we found a Bayliner that was same boat, but it was about 10 years newer, and it had really nice engine package and looked super clean. But the guy was asking $200,000 for it. Steve may have picked his boat up for I think it was like $80,000 or something like that. But then he's having to manage, he's micromanaging the process of putting this boat back together and getting it ready for America's Great Loop. And I asked him, which one would you take it now today, knowing what you know now? And he said he would have spent the $200,000. But trying to tell him that while he was in the process of all that, you know, he can't get past that. You know, man, I should have spent this. I spent this. You're going to spend this anyway. So, but you know, trying to manage that, and trust me, trying to tell you guys that is a whole different world. And I got so many stories of people buying these boats, and getting way over their heads, you know, and then the bills start to come in, and then they just start piling up, and next thing you know, it's $30,000-$40,000, and they're still nowhere near, you know, they still don't have new electronics, they still don't have this, they still don't have that. That's just the basics to get the boat running. It was even just last week, I was talking to a particular guy, you know, he has a boat over here in the Chesapeake, and you know, he's, Paul, what do you think I should do with this boat, you know? And it was like, well, he paid like $15,000 for the boat. Then he's in the boat for another $17,000, and he's got the boat with 2 running engines. He still doesn't have any canvas. He still doesn't have any electronics. He still doesn't have anything, and it's just going to keep going. It's just going to snowball, and the boat's way too far away from him for him to manage it and control it. So he's got other people working on the boat, and that gets tougher and tougher because you got to be able to trust these people, and trusting these people is not an easy thing to do. So anyway, I hope you got some value out of this content. I hope you guys understand that in the end of the day, you've got to trust yourself. You got to trust your instincts. You've got to trust, you know, the people, the team that you put around you. So whether that's me consulting, or, you know, I don't care who it is, you know, Seth over there in the Panhandle as your broker, it doesn't matter. When you build your little team of who's around you, you want to go with people that are knowledgeable and know what they're talking about, and you'll be much more successful. You may not want to hear what they have to say all the time, but it will, the outcome will come out much better. Anyway, I hope you guys liked this week's video. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to talk about how much money the channel makes, and different ways that it makes channel, a small niche channel like this. Peace out. God bless. And remember, in God we trust. It says it right here on the back of this, on the back of our tender. Do we trust this? Do we trust this? Or do we trust our hearts? That's what we really got to talk about. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate it. I can't do this channel without you, without all the love and support, the phone calls and everything. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. God bless. Bye.